Ladies and gentlemen, picture this: years of loyalty, friendship, and fame, all shattered in one courtroom breath. Cameras flashing like lightning, whispers slicing through the air, and T sitting motionless, fists clenched, as the one woman he trusted most stepped up to the mic and detonated his world with 6 words. Tiny was not faithful. And I have proof. The crowd froze. You could almost hear the sound of hearts cracking under the fluorescent lights. Shekinah, the woman who once called Tiny her sister, had just dropped a betrayal so deep it made every loyalty oath in Hollywood feel like a lie. But she did not stop there. No, she played it. A hidden recording. A voice echoing through the courtroom like a ghost from the past, soft, trembling, undeniable. The proof nobody thought existed. In that moment, the courtroom turned into a battlefield. Reporters dashed out like soldiers racing to file breaking news. T.I.'s eyes glistened, a man realizing the empire he built with love, loyalty, and lies was now burning down in front of a live audience. But beneath all the chaos, one question screamed louder than the flashbulbs: why now? Why would Shekinah, the woman who once built this family's public image, rip it apart like this? Was it revenge or redemption? Because when sisterhood turns toxic and truth turns weapon, no one leaves unscarred. That day, the Harris family learned something cruel about fame: summer seats may fade, but betrayals echo forever. The courtroom felt less like a legal proceeding and more like a sold-out concert where the only sound was heartbreak. Shekinah, once the smiling face beside Tiny on reality TV, now stood trembling behind a microphone, ready to bury the same people who made her shine. You could cut the silence with a knife. Even the reporters forgot to breathe. When Shekinah whispered, "I was there the night it happened," the air changed. T.I.'s jaw tightened. His fingers tapped against the desk, a rhythm of denial that his face could not hide. It was the panic of a man realizing someone brought receipts he thought he deleted forever. Shekinah's voice trembled, but her words were daggers. She said it began with laughter, champagne, and a desperate attempt to fix a crumbling marriage. But the moment of healing became a night of secrets. And the man Tiny turned to for comfort? Not a stranger. Not a random fling. No, he was T.I.'s own friend, a business partner, a man who had eaten at their table, toasted their anniversaries, and smiled in their family photos. The betrayal hit like a car crash. The crowd gasped. You could almost hear the sound of trust breaking in slow motion. Shekinah said she begged Tiny to stop, to think of her children, her name, her brand, but Tiny's reply was colder than the courtroom air. If he can do it and be forgiven, so can I. Those words didn't just sting. They detonated. And that was when the line between love and revenge completely disappeared. Tiny's actions weren't about passion anymore, they were about power. About getting even. T sat there frozen, his silence heavier than any denial. After years of rumors about his own affairs, it felt like karma had finally taken the witness stand. Then came the audio. The forbidden tape. Shekinah said it was never meant to exist, a recording accidentally captured by the studio security system. Tiny never knew. But once Shekinah heard it, she could never unhear it. It wasn't graphic, she said, but it was real. The sound of laughter, a whisper, a confession. And then the words that echoed like a curse: "He deserves this." Reporters scrambled to type. Someone in the gallery gasped aloud. You could feel the weight of those 3 words crush every lie that had ever been told in that marriage. From there, the story turned darker. Shekinah said Tiny spiraled, crying at 3 a.m., panicking that her secret would destroy everything, but she couldn't stop. "I'll leave before I confess," she told Shekinah. The judge shifted uncomfortably. The defense objected again and again, but it didn't matter. Shekinah wasn't gossiping anymore, she was purging. She poured out every buried secret, every tense red carpet glance, every fake smile fans had once believed in. The social media hiatuses? Not privacy. Guilt management. The reality show smiles? A cover for emotional warfare. And then, the twist that stunned everyone. According to Shekinah, T already knew. Months before the leak. He found out, quietly, and chose to hide it. He didn't want the world to find out first. Instead of ending it, they made a deal: keep the brand alive, play the perfect couple, and sell forgiveness as family goals. They turned betrayal into business, Shekinah said, her voice shaking. They sold forgiveness like it was a brand deal. The courtroom fell silent again, a silence that said everything about the cost of fame, the weight of deception, and the tragedy of loving someone in public while falling apart in private. In that silence, T.I.'s empire didn't just crack. It collapsed, not from hate, but from the truth finally coming home. If what she said was true, everything the Harrises sold the world, the image, the podcasts, the family shows, the public reconciliations, collapsed into one giant PR cover-up. When the judge asked why she decided to speak now, Shekinah exhaled like someone who had carried a secret for years and finally set it down. Because I was tired of being the liar, she said, voice steady as a blade. Every time something leaked, they blamed me. Tiny looked up then, eyes red but holding a furious light. She muttered, barely under her breath but loud enough for the microphones to swallow, "You said you loved me." Shekinah turned, calm and cold, and answered, "I did. That is why I warned you." The courtroom detonated into murmurs, gasps, and camera shudders, 1,000 tiny betrayals captured in one frame. The judge pounded his gavel, demanding order, but the moment had already ruptured. Everyone in that room, jurors, reporters, onlookers, understood that this was no longer legal procedure. It was a vendetta dressed as testimony. Outside, the world had already set its feeds ablaze. Clips began to bleed across timelines like wildfire. Memes flooded timelines. Hashtags multiplied. "He deserves this," became a chorus, repeated, remixed, weaponized. Some applauded Shekinah for ripping off the band-aid and showing the wound. Others called her vindictive, accusing her of weaponizing intimate pain for attention. Either way, the entire internet stopped to watch. As the court recessed, T rose, face a blank canvas, eyes heavy with something like defeat. He leaned toward Tiny and whispered. She turned away. Shekinah walked past them into a forest of flashes and shouted questions from waiting reporters. When someone screamed, "Are you afraid of backlash?" she pivoted and said, plain and defiant, "The truth does not need a PR team." Outside, rain began to fall, cinematic, inevitable, as if the heavens were writing captions. Fans gathered under umbrellas like a street theater, chanting her name as though she were an anti-hero they did not know they needed. Tiny's car sped off without a word. T remained, shielded by counsel, while millions replayed each second, frame by merciless frame. As dusk folded over the courthouse, one electric question pulsed through every comment thread and news crawl. If this was only the beginning, what else lived on that tape? Because Shekinah saved the cruelest line for last. "That tape is not the whole story," she said, voice low. Those 7 words landed like a slap to the face of every headline. Within minutes, clips of her leaving the courthouse trended, fans freezing frames to read the shape of her mouth, the tilt of her chin, searching for hidden meanings like detectives hunting clues. Comment sections turned into war rooms. TikTok edits scored with suspense music climbed into the millions. One viral caption read, "She knows more than she said." Within an hour, the clip crossed 5 million views and spawned thousands of conspiracy threads. The public was no longer content with soundbites, they wanted the sequel. Back in the sealed chambers of law, the judge promised reconvening the next morning. That promise meant nothing to the court of public opinion, which had already delivered a verdict. T was guilty in spirit. Tiny was guilty by silence. Media outlets and gossip channels detonated with breathless headlines. The Shade Report dropped a thumbnail with block letters, "Hidden audio confirmed." Smaller creators churned out hot takes with shaky thumbnails, "My cousin knows Shekinah's hairstylist." By sunrise, the internet was drowning in theories. Some threads claimed the hidden audio captured Tiny admitting to an affair with one of T.I.'s business partners. Other threads insisted it recorded T begging her to keep things quiet. Accuracy mattered less than narrative. The rumor of the tape was enough to fracture reputations. #Harris leak trended worldwide. Atlanta felt like a city that had witnessed a small apocalypse. Radio hosts ran call-ins, stakeholders whispered, and late-night monologues sharpened their knives. Callers debated morals like doctrine. One man said on air, "T humiliated Tiny for years. She just collected her revenge." Another replied, "Two wrongs do not make a right, but damn if it is not a spectacle." Then came the leak nobody could resist. The Gossip Plug, an Instagram account with millions, uploaded a 10-second clip allegedly from the tape. Grainy audio. Indistinct breaths. A woman's voice, unmistakably like Tiny, saying, "You think I did not know what he did? Let him feel it." The clip detonated comment sections. People clipped it, slowed it, analyzed it, and built entire narratives on its static. By midday, a self-styled court insider tweeted that the audio had been authenticated. "Tape real. Everything changes," read the terse line that sent PR teams into panic mode. Headlines flooded. T breaks down after Shekinah's bombshell. Eyewitnesses described the next hearing as an emotional meltdown. When prosecutors asked T about authenticity, witnesses said he froze, blinked twice, and murmured, "No comment." That silence tore more at the public than confession ever could. Tiny sat beside him, head bowed, clutching tissues like lifelines. Shekinah, in contrast, was serene, almost peaceful, like someone who had carried a weight for too long and finally set it down. "I did not come to destroy a family," she told the judge. "I came because I was tired of being blamed for other people's secrets. I kept quiet for love, but love does not pay for peace." The reaction split like a fault line. Half the internet crowned her a crusader who smashed silence and forced accountability. The other half labeled her a traitor, someone who traded loyalty for relevance. Even celebrities offered thin, performative sympathy, cryptic posts thinly veiled as moral statements. One artist warned, "Protect your peace, but do not weaponize secrets." Another praised her bravery, "She said what everyone was whispering." Chaos intensified when gossip pages began leaking alleged messages between Tiny and her confidant. Screenshots appeared, disappeared, reappeared, some authentic, some forged, some AI crafted, and none of it mattered. Each new post added kindling to a fire that refused to extinguish. By afternoon, the narrative had metastasized. Threads claimed different versions of the audio, Tiny confessing to an affair, T bargaining, secret deals, even suggestions of payment and hush agreements. Podcasts rebranded episodes to cash in. Late-night hosts riffed like stand-up comics stitching tragedy into monologue gold. The story was no longer about truth, it was about content. And through it all, the people who had once cheered them on watched in the same breath, horrified, enthralled, and secretly satisfied. Because scandal is a mirror, and this one reflected a truth everyone pretended not to see: when fame is currency, loyalty becomes negotiable, and the public is always hungry for the next confession. Would you like me to convert this into a full voiceover script with timings, reaction cues, and social media montage beats that match your channel's pacing? I can lay it out shot by shot so editors and voice actors know exactly when to cut to a clip, when to drop the sting, and when to let the silence speak. In the background of that grainy 10-second clip, a man's voice, deep, cold, and eerily similar to T.I.'s, whispered, "This can't get out." Just 10 seconds. That was all it took. 10 seconds to break the internet, shatter a legacy, and turn Atlanta's royal family into reality TV ruins. The comment sections became war zones. "She really did it." T played himself. "This is history in real time." Every outlet scrambled to verify the clip, but no one could trace the source. It was as if it had fallen straight out of the cloud, divine gossip intervention. Yet everyone knew the timing was too perfect to be random. So the hunt began. Who leaked it? Was it Shekinah herself? A court insider? Or someone in the Harris circle settling old debts? Then came the second twist, an anonymous email titled, "More Where That Came From," sent to multiple gossip blogs. The sender claimed to have 3 more recordings, one of Tiny crying, one of T fixing things, and one of Shekinah revealing everything, years ago. Screenshots of that email flooded timelines like digital shrapnel. T.I.'s lawyer went nuclear, threatening lawsuits against anyone who even mentioned the unreleased material. But it was too late. The public did not care about legality anymore. They wanted entertainment, pain served on autoplay. And this? This was reality TV with real tears. Within 24 hours, sponsorships started evaporating. A luxury brand quietly scrubbed T from its website. The family's upcoming reality show reboot was shelved indefinitely. Streaming platforms paused discussions about T.I.'s documentary deal. But this was not a pause, it was collapse disguised as silence. Even former collaborators joined the feeding frenzy. One ex-producer told a podcast, "T always acted untouchable. Now karma touched back." Another ex-friend said coldly, "Shekinah didn't ruin them. She just turned the lights on." Outside the courthouse, fans lined up in the rain just to glimpse the woman who'd split the city in two. Some shouted, "We believe you, Shekinah." Others hurled insults, "Fake friend. Clout chaser." But that is the internet, you are either a saint or a villain. Never both. Then, at midnight, a curveball hit. Shekinah posted a single black Instagram story. No caption, no emojis. Just 7 words, "He cried today. For real." And the internet exploded. Screenshots flooded X and TikTok. One viral tweet read, "After years of making women cry, T finally shed one himself. Brutal." Gossip pages swarmed with alleged insider quotes. One said T stormed out of court, muttering, "Everything I built, gone in one lie." But it was never one lie. It was an empire built on half-truths, and it was collapsing under its own weight. Tiny tried to stay composed, but even her circle began whispering. "She can't sleep," one friend leaked. "She keeps replaying the tape in her head." Fans did not buy it. "Regret only comes after exposure," one comment read, a digital dagger with 1 million likes. Then came the third wave, whispers of an investigation. Outlets claimed the court ordered a full review into how the audio leaked. But darker rumors spread faster, that the leak was no accident. That Shekinah might have struck a deal, immunity in exchange for the tapes. Wild theory? Maybe. But in celebrity justice, truth and conspiracy often look identical. By week's end, T.I.'s name was everywhere again, not for his music, not for business, but for scandal. Shekinah's testimony had done what years of controversy could not, turn the Harris family from royalty to ruins. Reporters swarmed the courthouse for the next hearing, their microphones hungry for a quote. And then it happened, Shekinah arrived, flanked by lawyers, eyes locked on the cameras. She stopped. She smiled faintly. And she said, "If they don't tell the truth, I will." The crowd lost its mind. Reporters screamed questions. The judge sighed like a man watching civilization collapse. Tiny buried her face in her hands. And in that thunderous chaos, the Harris dynasty took its final breath. Because what followed wasn't damage control, it was detonation. The second Shekinah spoke those words, the courtroom became a crime scene, not of murder, but of exposure. Cameras flashed like lightning. Lawyers scrambled like ants. Tiny's team whispered in panic while T sat motionless, hands clasped, eyes hollow, the look of a man realizing the storm wasn't coming. It was already here. Outside, chaos turned cosmic. News anchors replayed her quote every hour, calling it the sentence that shattered Atlanta. CNN, TMZ, local gossip blogs. Everyone spun their version of what truth she meant. Was it more audio? Hidden money? Blackmail? Tax secrets? No one knew. And somehow, that made it worse. Because uncertainty is the internet's favorite flavor. By dawn, T.I.'s PR team released a plea for privacy, please allow the family space to heal. Translation? They were drowning. Sponsors vanished. His podcast deal suspended. His label quietly deleted his name from their website. Artists who once called him a mentor unfollowed him in silence. And Shekinah? She went live. Sitting in her car, lashes on, voice steady as scripture, she said, "I told y'all I wasn't lying. They made me the villain for years, but now the truth got receipts." Her live stream pulled 500,000 viewers in 10 minutes. Every line she spoke became a meme. "They called me messy," she said. Then she smirked. "But guess who cleaning house now?" The internet crowned her queen of chaos. But the chaos had teeth. Because while everyone laughed and clipped reactions, a federal privacy investigation was quietly opening behind the scenes. Real subpoenas. Real data pulls. Real consequences. Tiny's lawyers tried a new strategy, painting her as the victim of an illegal recording, not infidelity. It might have worked. Until a blog called Urban Exposé dropped bombshell screenshots, court filings confirmed it. The audio wasn't hacked. It wasn't AI. It came from real surveillance footage, from their own studio. The irony cut deep. The same place where they built their empire, had captured its fall. Insiders said T lost it. He smashed his phone, screamed about fake friends selling stories, but deep down, he already knew the truth. The leak came from someone who once called him brother. Someone who finally decided that brotherhood had an expiration date. Tiny vanished. No sightings. No posts. Just silence, the kind that screams guilt. Her last digital act? Unfollowing Shekinah. The internet treated it like a funeral. Fans flooded her comments with, "Say something, sis." When she turned them off, it only made it worse. The next morning, another leaked clip surfaced, T in court, face buried in his hands, shoulders trembling. Some said it was acting. Others whispered, "No. That's karma crying." Every repost carried the same caption, "The king finally cried." By midweek, the fallout spread beyond gossip.